Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Choir Directors Academy. I'm your host, Angela Elaine. Happy Valentine's Day. You see, I got my red on with my little Louis teddy bear here. Glad to be here on tonight. Thank you for joining us on tonight. Listen, like and share this video. I know it's Valentine's Day and sometimes everybody's busy or whatever, and I didn't want to cancel because sometimes once you get that momentum going, you got to keep it going. And I do know that a lot of people will view this video later on this evening or maybe tomorrow morning. But anyway, like and share the video and put comments out there so I can give you a shout out. Glad to be here on tonight. It's a blessing to have another day. As they used to sing when I was a kid, just another day that the Lord has kept me alive. And I appreciate each of you tuning in on tonight. Listen, we're gonna get right into it. I'm not gonna wait because that's one of the pet peeves of mine is to slow around and delay time waiting on people. To rehearse or not to rehearse. Some people have a different view of it. One thing I have learned in my life as a choir director, we use those terms interchangeably. Everyone kind of thinks the choir rehearsal is the same thing as choir practicing. And actually, there's a big difference between rehearsal and practice. A lot of people don't do it. That's one thing I kind of dislike about the English language is that we just merge stuff. We don't even really find out what the true definition of anything is. We just put it all together and everybody's running around with the wrong understanding and the wrong connotation of what's going on. And sometimes when we do that, then people perform or do things the wrong way because we don't really understand what it is. There is a distinct difference between a rehearsal versus a practice. Look at it this way. Rehearsal is what we do to prepare for a performance. You see why I got the P's all mixed up. We are preparing for a performance. You come to rehearsal so everybody can kind of get coordinated and kind of get their minds synced together. Everybody's thought is on the same wavelength. The musicians and everybody kind of gets together, right? That's what a rehearsal is. We're preparing for a performance. It could be Sunday morning, could be a midnight musical, could be a neighborhood outdoor, it could be anything. It doesn't matter what it is, but that's what a rehearsal is. We're coming together to prepare for a performance. To practice is to prepare for the rehearsal. A lot of people don't know that, but you practice at home, in your car, in the shower, wherever. You practice for the rehearsal. That's what you're doing. So practice is like the pre-rehearsal. You get yourself together, you familiarize yourself with everything, and you get your warm-ups and all of that kind of stuff together. And then you come to rehearsal. We mix that up. And that's why some of us have ineffective rehearsals. Right? They're ineffective. You come in and people are all over the place. We waste a lot of time. And that's one thing that I notice, sometimes when you go to rehearsals, they waste a lot of time. It's like, realize that time is of the essence here. An hour can fly by in like a moment's notice. You can just scrolling on Instagram. You can sit there and the next thing you know, an hour or two has passed by. Because you're so engrossed in whatever it is. And most of the time when we come to rehearsal, let's just be truthful. Most of the time we come to every people drag in like, it's already that kind of thing. And sometimes, people invite me to their rehearsals and I come in and I sit and I can kind of see why people are like, now I admit I'm very fast paced. I'm like, let's come in, let's do the job so we can move on. I don't like my rehearsals to be longer than no more than an hour and a half. And if it's an hour and a half, those of you who have sat through my rehearsals, if it's an hour and a half, believe me, we're moving. I'm not spending more than 10 minutes on a song. That's in a rehearsal. I'm not spending more. If I got to spend more than 10 minutes on a song, then maybe we need to drop this song and move on to something else. I don't have, most of the time when I come, I'm coming with the intent to rehearse at least 7 songs, get something done, because I may not have another rehearsal. I'm one of those people that don't have a rehearsal every week. I I don't know if I don't know what it is, but I just can't have rehearsal every week. I can have it every 2 weeks. So when I come, I got everything lined up what we're going to do, and we need to get this done and whatever, right? But when I come to like various rehearsals and they have me there, and I just sit there and I watch it, and I'm just like, I can see why everybody's kind of like, breathing and, watching the phone, watching their, looking at the clock, doing all kinds of things instead of paying attention. And, there's just a few things that we need to tidy up. Right. I'm always looking for a way, even in myself. I'm a veteran choir director, but I still look for ways to make choir rehearsal interesting, to respect everybody's time, and even respect my own time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want to sit there and be there for 2 hours and we only went over 2 songs. I mean, all kinds of things come into play when you have a rehearsal, right? So the first thing that I noticed that makes a rehearsal ineffective is being unprepared. One of the worst things you can do is let the rehearsal be the first time people have heard of a song. That's not what rehearsal is for. I know we do a lot of different things, but trust me on this. That's not what a rehearsal is for. It should not, when you come to choir rehearsal, let's go back to what I was talking about. Rehearsal is we getting together to prepare for a performance. When you come to rehearsal, that should not be the first time that a person hears a song. Hey, Isaiah. Hi, Walter, Linda, Zaire, and Terry. Good to see you. That is not the first time we should hear the song. If we're coming to rehearsal, that is not the first time that we should hear a song. Okay. I mean, all of us, you should make sure that everybody gets a list. Everybody doesn't have Apple Music, okay, but everybody does watch YouTube. So you can create a list and give it to them. It should not be the first time. That makes your rehearsals ineffective, because then when you go over a song, you got to spend 10, 15 minutes just trying to get everybody to get the verse in their mind. And if it's a song that's not quick, like a Reverend Timothy Wright song, we're going to waste a lot of time. We're going to spend at least 30 minutes with them just trying to get the verses together. And then if you got so many different turns and riffs and it just, you're going to frustrate the people. You're going to frustrate yourself, first of all, because they're not going to catch on quickly. And then you're going to get frustrated. They're going to get frustrated, because then you start elevating your voice and you start looking crazy and, all these kind of reactions and things. And basically it's because you were not prepared. So when you have a rehearsal, that should not be the first time they hear a song. You should always get that list of people and let them start practicing at home. Right? Choir practicing is at home, away from the rehearsal. When you come to my rehearsal, I expect you to already be familiar with the song. You should know the basic melody. You should be familiar with the words. When you come to a rehearsal, it is to perfect the song, not to teach the song. Perfect it. Everyone, and the reason we're coming together to perfect it is because everybody doesn't have the same ear for music. Right. And if you're the leader, they definitely don't have the same ear you have. Right. Or else you wouldn't be the leader. So when you come, everybody, it's like everybody sings and they think, oh, I know the song, blah, 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 blah. And then when I hit that key and say, all right, sing, and then I hear all kinds of stuff, it's to blend everybody. Really, that's what rehearsals are for. I got notes here. It should not be the first time that we hear it. It's to blend the voices. That's the secondary purpose of a choir rehearsal. Number one is to blend the voices. Number two, develop skillful vocals. Skillful means that we're all moving as one as we're singing. All the sopranos sound like one voice. All the altos sound like one voice. All of the tenors sound like one voice. But together we sound like a mass of people. Is to provide balance. You can't have one person singing louder than everybody else. You should never hear one alto or one soprano over everybody. Sometimes some people, you got various levels of people in the choir. And sometimes people do that. You get this one person that's singing so loud. It's like, It's not a one-man show or one-woman show. You have to kind of position them because their voice is so loud and so strong. You have to position them away from the mics that it will pick up, a few sound waves later, it'll pick up their voices, and then it'll kind of blend in everybody. You have to do that. Sometimes I listen to choirs and they're not blending. It's just like a bunch of people singing together, and I'm like, that means somebody didn't rehearse, because then you would position people in a way that their voices would carry. There are some people who may not have a strong voice, but they have, when I say strong, I mean a loud voice. Let me put it that way. But they're strong as far as maintaining the note. They can sing anything. They just, for some reason, they just don't have a loud sound. Well, you can develop them into a pillar in the choir. But then you got these people who are loud and voices going everywhere. Those kind of people, you got to kind of push them without hurting their feelings. You kind of push them on, position them so that the mic won't pick up their voices. All right. So that's kind of like an overview of rehearsal. That's what we're coming for with our secondary thing. Hey, Navinka, that's a secondary thing with rehearsal. But again, at your rehearsal, this should not be the first time that they hear a song. These are some of the things that I noticed that people kind of like perturb, because then you're going to waste time. Right? You're going to sit there and then you're going to do a whole lot of whatever, and everybody, the musicians doing their thing. You got your staff doing their thing. You got the choir doing their thing, and nobody's listening. And the second thing, the part B to that, is when the person who is in charge, who is the director or directress, is not prepared. The worst thing you can do is come to rehearsal and then you're asking somebody else what the note is. No, if you're standing before me and you're telling me that this is your rehearsal and we're coming to rehearsal. Now, mind you, I'm hungry, I'm tired, and I could have been doing something else, but I'm coming to be obedient and work in the Lord's house. I don't expect you to stand in front of me and asking me what the note is. No, don't do that. Because then you are, if you're standing in front of me and you're not prepared, you don't know which way you're going. I'm not saying, now let me throw this in here. I understand sometimes when you're learning 15, 20 songs, you might get something twisted up and, get mixed up, because I've done it. But at the same time, people realize that it's not that she hasn't studied. It's just that it's so many songs run at the same time. She's trying to get things done. But when you only have one song to teach, and you're standing there and you have no clue which way you should go, you're asking me for the part. That makes the rehearsal ineffective. Whenever you're presenting anything, even the musicians, everybody needs to be prepared. Like I said, nobody needs to be trying to learn anything, unless it's a song that's really, really simple. For the rest of my life, for Reverend Timothy Wright, for the rest of my life, I'll serve him. That's pretty easy. And with the music coming in, you can kind of like roll with that. But if you got a more complex song, like maybe a James Hall, God is an awesome God. No, not him. God wants a yes. I'm thinking youthful praise. God wants a yes. Well, you need to have people prepared before they do that, or else you just wasting time. All right. So that's two of the things. Not being prepared, because then that makes people drift. And then it gets to the point where people won't come. A lot of people have rehearsal and then you sit there with like 5 or 6 people. Well, that's because it's not inviting, it's not encouraging anybody to do anything. Hey, Serena, it's not inviting anybody to do anything. So they just kind of sit there listless, going every kind of way. Another thing that can make our rehearsals ineffective is lateness or tardiness. If you're in charge, you should be there before everybody else, preparing yourself, kind of getting things in line. You're always going to have those people that are going to be on time. You're always going to have those people who are going to be late. With myself, I don't care if I say if something starts at 7:30, that's the time it's going to start. I don't care what time you get there. I'm going to start. Now, most of the time when I get there, the musicians are there because they're ready to go. And then I may have maybe 5, and I'm talking like a big choir, like the jurisdictional choir or something like that. So they may come in late, and then they may, I may have 15, 20 people. Well, I'm not going to sit there and wait for the other 40. No, I'm going to get started. I'm going to keep moving because I respect the people who came. You don't want to hurt, you don't want to waste their time. They said, I was on time. So why am I penalizing me for the ones that are coming in fashionably late? Or some may have a legitimate excuse, work, whatever. It doesn't matter. But you have to establish a theme. You have to establish rules. We're starting on time. If you remember that scene from Drumline, he said if you're whatever time choir rehearsal starts, 7:30, band rehearsal starts 7:30, 5:30, whatever. And he said if you're on time, you're late. And if you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. Why? Because if you get there, if rehearsals at 7:30 and you get there at 7:25, it's going to take you 5 minutes to get to your seat, take your stuff off, unwind, and recalibrate your mind. Right? A lot of people forget about that. When you're driving, that's why you get to work early, because when you're driving, your mind is you're running. You're hyped and you're honed. So when you get to work, you got to settle down. That's why some people go and get their coffee, they get their tea, they get a donut, they get whatever. You got to kind of pull yourself in, recalibrate, and be focused so you can do your job. It's the same thing in rehearsal. You come in 5 minutes before 7:30, you're running because you like, okay, I want to get in my seat. Then you get, and then you got to try to get yourself catch up to where everybody. No. I usually get there maybe 15 minutes early because then I don't have to rush. I can kind of get myself together and kind of get my thoughts, determine what I'm going to do and how things should be done. Late or tardiness makes a rehearsal ineffective, because you know how it is. If you tell everybody to be there at 7:30 and then the people don't get there at 7:30 and you sit around and wait till 7:45, guess what? The next time they're going to get there at 7:45 because they know you're going to wait. The next thing you know, a rehearsal that should have started at what? 7:30 now starts at 8 o'clock. And then you got 6 songs you need to go over. And God forbid if nobody knows what you're going to go over. you just, you're going to be frustrated and they're going to be frustrated as well. All right. And that's just not good. The third thing that kind of gets me in rehearsals is when I see that the choir has no confidence in the leader. And you say, well, how is that possible? It's very possible. The choir should have confidence in you that even when you make a mistake, they don't even know it. And even if they know, you're going to know you made a mistake, which you know what? Let me just say this. Choir directors are not infallible. I don't care how much we practice. We'll get up there, and I know I've done it a few times, and I'm sure my co-laborer, Navinka Williams, and some of the rest of you, even my mentees there, you have gotten up there and forgot the song. You're just like, and you know what? But it's not the end of the world. You just learn how to just like, okay, you just tell everybody clap your hands and we just rock till I figure out where I am. It happens. But even in that, your choir should be confident enough to know that, okay, I can clearly see she forgot it, but they're confident enough to know that you're going to come up with something else. You're going to be smooth about it and not just stand there and freeze like, oh my God, I made a mistake. Oh my God. You won't do that. You will do something, whatever comes to your mind, you'll do something to kind of smooth it over so the audience don't need to know you made a mistake. The rest of us may, the choir may know, the musicians know, or whatever else. And then they have, sometime with me, I'm so smooth at it. God has blessed me that I just, they don't even know I messed up. They just rolling with me. I'm doing, they just rolling with me. Whatever you do, that's what we do. That's fine. And then after everything is over, then I tell them I didn't know what I was doing. They're like, I didn't know, well, I can tell you now because it's all over and the audience received it. Everything went out okay. But they should have confidence in you to know that you're going to take the time to learn. You're well-bred, well-studied person. The Bible tells us, study to show yourself approved, the workman that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. And I know we're talking about living and all of that, but it also applies to music. You want to be skillful in what you do. You always want to do your best. You want to present yourself in the best possible way, because you got people coming behind you and they're learning from you. My mother was a choir director. She had 2 choirs, and then her mother was also a choir director, and then her mother was a choir director. So a lot of things that I've kind of was like innate with me, but I still learned from them. I learned from I don't want to say the mistakes of others, but I learned methods that others use that may not work. And then I choose not to use those I kind of exclude them from my repertoire, right? I don't want to do that. And it's the same thing. Sometimes you see people on jobs when they're not a manager, and there may be a manager ahead of them, and they get the wrong idea of what being a manager is all about, which I told you last week, choir directors are really managers. But anyway, instead of, you may have a bad manager, instead of looking at what they did and determining within yourself, I'm not doing that. A lot of times people turn around and they become the same manager that they may not necessarily want to be, but they become that same type of person. What you want to do is, when you see something wrong, even if it's your predecessor, you want to pray for them and pray for yourself, that when you step into the role, you won't do the same thing. You want them to have confidence in you. You want them to understand that you have a passion for what you do. We have so many choir directors that don't have a passion. They're just doing something. But when you have a passion for it, you make sure that you do your best at all times. And people will see that and develop confidence in you, that, okay, maybe this may go around or whatever, but I'm confident in them that they're going to always do their best. They're going to present themselves in the best possible way. Music, when you're leading a group of people, is not all about the music side of it. All right, that's part of it, because that's your job. That's your main theme in your role as manager of that particular department. But your ethics come into play, your morals, everything that you do, your appearance, everything that you do affects the confidence that the people have in you. You don't want them, every time they see you, they see something different and they don't know which way you're going to be. They don't know what mood you're in. They don't know how to approach you, because they don't know what mood you're going to be in. They don't know what you're going to look like when you walk in the door. They don't know anything. And you don't want the people that are following you to be uptight, because when everybody's uptight, they can't do a good job. A choir cannot sing when they're uptight, because it closes up the throat. You can't breathe properly. You get the opening, the esophagus, where the air comes in, it gets tight. The throat gets tight. The air gets trapped. They can't do anything because they're uptight. But when they relax and they have confidence in you, you'll be surprised how much better they can sing. You'll be surprised how relaxed they are, and they'll get with you, because the confidence is there. You're stable. You're stable. We have to be stable as choir directors. We have to do, I don't know why I'm going over here, but anyway, we have to be stable. You can't be flying off the handle all the time and doing, you can't do it. You have to be at a point where the people can relax and sing and follow you. Right? Some of us, we get caught up in the actual hand. And I tell you all the time, it's not all in the hands. And that's why we don't compare ourselves to one another. Some people can do all of these different things with the hand, but that doesn't mean that they're anointed. That doesn't mean that they're a better director than you. Confidence comes is when we see that you know which way you're going. You're following the Spirit, and we see which way you're going, and you're happy and you're excited and you're smiling. Not with all the frowns and all of that, but you're smiling. I mean, I'm guilty. Okay. I know that when the choir goes awry, I have this thing where I cross my eyes, and sometimes the choir, those that know me, they kind of laugh, but those that don't are like, oh my God, what did she just do? But that's just my way of letting everybody know you need to pay attention, because you just messed up. You didn't go where I told you to go, and you need to follow me. Right. I don't, sometimes I do that, but I try not to do that, because then the audience knows somebody wasn't following. Right. But you want them to have confidence in you. So we have to learn how to be stable. We have to learn how to settle ourselves and not be so flippant. And, somebody do something you don't like, you run, you can't be a flippant person and maintain order within whatever department that you're in. Okay. Let me get off of that. I don't want to get in a whole, as they say, a sermon over that. And another thing, the fourth thing that I saw, that I noticed with choirs, is when the director gives harsh criticism when a mistake is made. Let's think about this. You got the practicing that happens away from rehearsal. But when we come to rehearsal, you have to understand mistakes will be made. That's the whole point. Most of your mistakes should be made when you're at home practicing, right? With the music and you trying to get it. And that's when you miss the words and you're like, whatever. When you come to rehearsal, you should be familiar with the songs or whatever. Even if you're a musician, if you're a director, or if you are a singer, you should be familiar with the songs, right? But if your choir members make a mistake, then we shouldn't be so harsh on them. You know, I know some choir directors that taught and I felt bad for the person. I mean, to the point where they were calling people out of their names. We don't do that. You don't call them, you mention a bodily part to let them know that you're upset with them missing a note. You know, first of all, you have to be mature, right? And you have to understand in rehearsal that people are going to make mistakes. You're going to make a mistake when you teach. How many times have we taught the alto part and it really was a soprano part, or vice versa? Or we thought we were teaching tenor and we actually gave them the alto note or the bass note. I mean, it happens, right? And so when the people that are following you, if they happen to make a mistake, don't make it sound like it's the end of the world, like they broke a glass, they broke a vase. You know, I mean, it happens. We don't want to be too harsh because some people, we don't know what everybody's going through, right? And and that's not a cop out, but that's just true. You know, sometimes we as directors, we can let so many things we can be upset subliminally in our spirits. We can be upset about something and we don't realize it. When we come to rehearsal, we say it kind of rough, which is why we should start all our rehearsals with prayer. And then we all should pray individually before we get there. God, bring me in, help me in my spirit. I had a rough day today, but help me not to take it out on the people. They have nothing to do with what happened to me, you know, and whatever. And sometimes in my rehearsal, I would tell people, I say, if you had a real bad day or something, you know, kind of let us know you had a rough day. So we won't sit there and look at you like you being incooperative, right? You had a rough day. Okay, so then we know how to deal with you. Communication is key. We have to communicate, but extraordinarily harsh criticism. All right. People know that when they come to rehearsal, it's your job to teach them the right way to go. Right. When I did it, when I had my when I did the choir, I gave them the songs to learn. And so what I want you to do is just learn the basic song. Right. Because when you come, I'm going to add something in there and, you know, repeat this side or change that over a little bit. They already know that I'm going to do that. I'm going to personalize the song to a degree, right? At the vamp, you know, I generally try not to mess with the verses or mess with the opening of the song, the intro or something of that sort. If I'm going to amend or I'm going to change something, I'll wait till I get to the vamp. Because vamp is wide open. That's how I view it, okay? It's not the gospel, but that's how I view it. The vamp is wide open. I can pretty much do whatever on the vamp. I may start with what the original is, but, you know, you kind of roll into things as you're going along, right? So I understand that they may not catch it right away. You have to understand that when you're rehearsing with people, everybody's musical ability is not the same. I don't know why we can't understand it. I go to rehearsals and people just fussing and first of all, you let me put it this way. If you have a choir whose skills are like grammar school, well, there's no reason why you should be trying to teach them a song that is a high school level until you develop them and kind of push them up to that area. You need to kind of select songs that they can catch on quickly, because that's part of them developing confidence in you. They have to develop confidence within themselves, you know, because if you are strong in music, you know, like you can play an instrument, you can sing, you can do a lot of different things. There is a level of intimidation with the choir anyway. Let's just keep it real. There's a level of intimidation with you coming in because they already know you can play, you can sing, you can direct, you can do all these different things. So they already coming in with a level of intimidation. You don't want it to stay with them. You want them to know, okay, yes, that's why I'm in charge. They gave me the job because I do understand this. But at the same time, I'm here to teach you. I'm here to pull this mass of people to function like an army, to function as one, to override whatever insecurities they have and learn and trust me that I'm not going to destroy your spirit because you made a mistake, but I'm here to build you up, not tear you down. They have to have that. So when you come in, a lot of times that happens to me when I come to rehearsals, they already sit there like, oh my God. So I have to go be extra careful how I correct them. I don't want them to be discouraged. I don't want them to feel inadequate. I don't want that. I want you to be comfortable enough with me to know that if you do go the wrong way, I'm here to help you get back on the right track. Okay, so we have to, it's a lot into this. It really is. And then this is if you want to develop your choir. Because when I took over the choir from my mother, she was the first director of the church that I am now. When I took over from her, she basically, she was done with her competition days. So she basically was just trying to get a choir because my dad wanted a choir. When I took over, a new era came in where I focused on a cappella music instead of the traditional, you sing and then you got the music covering you up, and you got to wait till a few chords are played and then the song. No, I went the total opposite way. I required that you know the song and be able to stand on your own without music. That is, and that's when you really know the song. If you can sing that song without music, because that tells me that you really know it. I don't care about you singing with the group, and music, and you got umpteen folks with you. But if you can stand alone and sing your part by yourself and not blink an eye, then I know that you know it. So you don't want to kill anybody's spirit. You want them to have the ability to learn, to grow, and feel that, okay, yeah, she's going to correct me or he's going to correct me. I'm going to make mistakes, but it's not the end of the world. I'm just going to take that home, record it, take it home, and learn on my own. Okay. So I hope that helped everybody tonight. I think that's all I had in regards to the difference between rehearsal and practicing. Rehearsal is more relational. It's a combination of the musicians, the choir director, and the singers. When you're practicing, choir practicing is more or less is personal. You're at home going over the songs, you're learning your part, you're doing all of these things, and it's the practice before you're practicing for the rehearsal. And then that's what makes the rehearsal effective. Okay? My last thing here, I have a question of the day that somebody sent me, and I'm going to run through that real quick, and then I'm going to be done. Question of the day. Is it okay to have an audition for a church choir? For me, in my experience, that depends on the number of people in, your congregational size, the number of people in the choir, the number of people you have to select from. And what else did I say? The number of choirs that you're going to have. Oh, you're welcome, Victoria. You're so welcome. It depends. Now, let me say this. When I was growing up, before my father opened up the church, my mother was a member of another church, and she had two choirs. She had the youth choir, and she also had the teenage choir. The youth choir, she did not have auditions for. It was just basically, you come up here, you sing, everybody sang in unison, no big deal, right? But when she had the teenage choir, children's choir, which went up to about the age of 13, I think. Something like that. I don't know. I can't remember, so long ago. But anyway, she had the children's choir, and then she had the teenage choir. I do know that. For the children's choir, no kind of audition. You just want the kids up there with their white blouses, navy blue. I think we had navy blue and white. I remember that. With the white angel robes and the red dickies. Yeah, my mother was really into the choir scene. But when it came to the teenage choir, because we sang a cappella, she had auditions. And it was quite a few teenagers. I think it may have been about 25 or 30 teenagers, teens, preteens. And then when I say teenagers, I'm talking, preteen. You had to be a double-digit person to even try out for the youth choir. For the teenage choir, you had to be double digits. So, I mean, you had to be at least 10. And if you're 10, 11, 12, you had to be like exceptional, because she just wouldn't let you in there. And then, the rest of everybody else between 13 and 18. So for that choir, you had to audition. Like I said, she had 25 to 30 people try it out. And honestly, only about, I want to say about 7 of us made it, because when we were singing a cappella, my mother was a music major. She had a scholarship in music. She kind of went further than her mom and her grandmother. So she specialized in a cappella singing. And honestly, I have to give, not because she's my mother, but she really had the skills, and we learned how to project, resonate. I mean, go from chest voice to throat to the head voice. You losing the nasal cavities in your head. I mean, you just knew how to just flow. I mean, and the thing is, my mom, now I have to be honest, my mom did not rehearse with me at home. You would think, by me being her daughter, that I would know. She wouldn't give me any special treatment. I had to practice on my own like everybody else, and I had to go through the audition like everybody else. And there was one time I did not make it. She was just like, "You're not singing." So that's when she had 25 or 30 people, and she only ended up letting maybe 7 to 10 people sing. I would say it depends on the amount of people that you have. Now, the choir that I had, even though it wasn't that many of them, I think I maxed out at 15. I don't really like huge choirs because I like a cappella singing, and I like to do specials, special things, and vocal arrangements and things like that. And a lot of people are not really into that because it's more difficult to sing a cappella than it is to sing with the music. But even with that small group, I did it. I would use it as to perfect the vocals, not necessarily to exclude anybody, especially if you got a smaller group. I would use that to ensure that the people are actually learning their parts. But if you got quite a few people to pick from, then yeah, I would. And that depends on what you're trying to do. If you just want a regular choir, then maybe you don't have to do that. If you want a recording choir, then you might want to consider that. But if you're going to develop a choir that you want them at a competition level, which is where I focus more on a competition level, which means the first note that comes out of your mouth has to be right. You only got one shot at this. And once those first notes have to be right. Then after that, we can relax a little bit, right? If you're going to develop a competition grade choir, then yeah, you need to audition. So it kind of depends on which way you want to go, right? Everybody's different. It depends on what your goals are and what you plan to do. If you just want to do recording, then you probably need to consider that. But if you want to get more into the choral competitions and things of that sort, then absolutely, you need to audition. Okay, I hope I said something to help everybody. Listen, it's been a beautiful day today. Happy Valentine's Day to each and every one of you. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for all your comments. Like, share this video. I appreciate each of you being here with me on tonight. It's been a great day. And I hope I said something to help you learn. Listen, tune in next week. Not really sure what I'm going to talk about. It's so many things. Thank you all for your questions and your suggestions for the show. I appreciate it. I have my own, quite a few. But when you all give me some, it just makes it easier because there's so many things. When you've done this for so long, you kind of forget a lot of things. And then when people send me questions and then they're kind of like, oh, that would make a good show, and I talk about it. Because sometimes you've done this so long, you forget a lot of different things, as you do in whatever field of your specialty. You know more than what you can remember. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's what gives people confidence in you. And that's what gives you depth, that when whatever you say is solid as a rock. Okay. Love y'all. Have a great day and peace.